Welcome to your deep dive on Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. We've got all of your notes on this fitness guide by Michael Matthews. And let me tell you, I think you're going to find this one incredibly valuable. This isn't just another surface-level fitness book. Matthews really digs into the science of building muscle and losing fat.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shy away from debunking some common fitness myths along the way.
Right.
It's all about achieving that athletic physique you're after, but in a way that's smart,
Yeah.
sustainable, and backed by evidence.
Yeah.
What really stood out to you from Matthews' approach?
What's fascinating is how Matthews cuts through all the noise in the fitness industry and distills it down to a few key principles. He's all about simplicity and consistency. Instead of promoting some crazy fad diet or workout program, he focuses on the fundamentals of strength training with weights, precise nutrition, and establishing habits you can maintain for the long term. It's a refreshingly practical approach, especially for anyone who's felt overwhelmed by all the conflicting information out there.
That's so true. It's easy to get lost in the sea of fitness trends. But Matthews brings it back to the basics. And speaking of basics, let's talk about strength training.
Okay.
Matthews is a huge advocate for compound movements. Exercises like squats, deadlifts, and bench presses, in fact. He even calls them the foundation of any effective muscle building program. What makes these exercises so foundational in his view?
Well, think about it this way. Compound movements engage multiple muscle groups simultaneously, rather than isolating just one. When you squat, for example, you're working your quads, hamstrings, dog glutes, and even your core. This means you're getting more bang for your buck in terms of muscle activation and overall strength gains. It's far more efficient than doing a bunch of isolation exercises that only target one muscle at a time.
That makes a lot of sense. You're basically hitting multiple targets with one arrow.
Precisely. And there's a scientific reason why this approach is so effective. When you challenge multiple muscle groups at once, you trigger a greater hormonal response, including the release of testosterone and growth hormone, both crucial for muscle growth. Plus, compound movements tend to burn more calories, which is a bonus if you're looking to shed fat.
So it's a win-win.
Right.
You build muscle,
Yeah.
you burn fat, and you're doing it in a way that's incredibly time efficient. Now, obviously, we can't talk about building muscle without talking about nutrition.
Right.
Matthews has a very specific approach to fueling those gains. He breaks down the concept of macros, which, for anyone who's not familiar, refers to macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. And he provides formulas for calculating your individual macro needs based on your goals. Can you walk us through his approach to nutrition?
He starts by emphasizing the importance of protein. Protein is the building block of muscle tissue, so getting enough of it is essential for repairing and rebuilding those muscle fibers after a workout. He actually recommends a higher protein intake for those specifically looking to build significant muscle mass. And when it comes to carbs and fats, he explains that carbs are your primary source of energy for workouts, while fats play a vital role in hormone production and overall well-being.
So, it's not about cutting out entire food groups, as some diets suggest,
No.
but rather about finding the right balance of macros to support your training and recovery.
Exactly.
What I find really interesting is that Matthews introduces the concept of calorie cycling, which involves strategically alternating between phases of eating in a surplus and a deficit. I have to admit, I haven't really explored this approach before. Can you shed some light on how it works?
Absolutely. Calorie cycling is based on the idea that by strategically manipulating your calorie intake, you can maximize muscle gain while minimizing fat accumulation. So instead of maintaining a consistent calorie intake day after day, you'll have periods where you eat slightly more calories than you burn, a surplus, which is when you're focused on building muscle, and periods where you eat slightly fewer calories than you burn, a deficit, which helps with fat loss.
It's a more dynamic approach to nutrition than simply sticking to a set number of calories every day. Can you give us an example of what a weekly calorie cycling plan might look like?
Sure. Let's say you're training 4 days a week. On those training days, you might increase your calorie intake by 10–20%, focusing on getting plenty of protein and carbs to fuel your workouts and support recovery. Then, on your rest days, you might slightly decrease your calorie intake, perhaps by 5–10%, while still maintaining a balanced intake of protein, carbs, and fats. The exact percentages will vary based on your individual needs and goals, but you get the idea. It's about strategically timing your calorie intake to align with your training schedule and optimize your results.
That's incredibly insightful. It's like fine-tuning your nutrition to match the demands of your training. And speaking of training, Matthews is known for debunking a lot of common fitness myths.
Right.
There's so much misinformation out there, so it's refreshing to have someone cut through the noise and present the science-backed truth. What are some of the most pervasive fitness myths he tackles in Bigger, Leaner, Stronger?
One that immediately comes to mind is the myth that you need to do high reps with light weights to tone your muscles. This is something I hear all the time. And it simply isn't true. Muscle growth and definition are primarily driven by lifting heavier weights, even if you can only do fewer reps. Lifting heavy challenges your muscles, forcing them to adapt and grow stronger.
So if someone is aiming to get that lean, defined look,
Yeah.
they should be focusing on lifting heavy,
Mm.
not just doing endless reps with tiny weights.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean you should neglect higher rep ranges altogether. They have their place in building muscular endurance and improving overall fitness. But when it comes to building strength and size, lower rep ranges, typically in the 4-6 rep range, are more effective.
I think it's important to point out that even seasoned June goers can fall prey to these myths. There's so much information and misinformation floating around that it's easy to get confused.
Absolutely.
Matthews really emphasizes the importance of relying on evidence-based information. And that's what makes his approach so valuable.
Definitely. I completely agree. He doesn't just tell you what to do. He explains the why behind it, the science that supports his recommendations. He wants you to understand the principles so you can make informed decisions about your training.
And that's what sets Bigger, Leaner, Stronger apart. It's not just a cookie-cutter workout plan. It's a comprehensive guide to building a strong, healthy physique based on scientific principles. But Matthews doesn't just talk theory. He also provides a ton of practical tools and strategies to help you put these principles into practice. What are some of the tools he offers to help readers on their fitness journeys?
One of the most valuable tools he provides is a concept he calls double progression. It's a structured approach to progressive overload, which, as we discussed earlier, is essential for continuous muscle growth.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Double progression sounds intense. Break it down for us. How does it work?
It's actually quite simple and brilliant. You start by choosing a rep range for an exercise. Let's say 8-12 reps. You then gradually increase the weight you lift until you can comfortably hit the top end of that rep range, 12 reps in this case. Once you can consistently do 12 reps with good form, you increase the weight again and drop back down to the lower end of the rep range, which would be 8 reps. You then work your way back up to 12 reps with the heavier weight, and the cycle repeats.
It's like a built-in system for constantly challenging yourself and pushing those boundaries. No more getting stuck at the same weight for months.
Exactly. And Matthews also emphasizes the importance of tracking your workouts meticulously. He's a big advocate for keeping a detailed training log, where you record your set spot reps, weight used, and even how you felt during the workout.
Yeah. It's not just about mindlessly going through the motions. It's about being mindful and intentional with each workout. Do you use a training log in your own fitness routine?
I do. It's incredibly valuable for monitoring progress, identifying patterns, and making adjustments. It's like having a data-driven roadmap for your fitness journey.
I love that analogy. It takes the guesswork out of it and allows you to see those small wins along the way. Matthews also talks a lot about the importance of listening to your body and avoiding overtraining.
Right.
What are some signs that someone might be pushing themselves too hard? And what are the potential consequences of ignoring those signs?
Overtraining can manifest in several ways,
Yeah.
Like persistent fatigue, decreased performance, a lack of motivation, even an increased susceptibility to injuries, essentially, is pushing your body beyond its capacity to recover, which can actually hinder your progress rather than accelerate it.
It's counterproductive in the long run. It's like burning the candle at both ends.
Precisely. And that's why Matthews is such a proponent of incorporating deload weeks into your training program. He recommends a deload week every 4-6 weeks, depending on your training intensity and how well you recover.
A deload week isn't just a week off from the gym, is it? What does a typical deload week look like?
It's not about completely stopping training, but rather strategically reducing the volume and intensity. You might decrease the weight you're lifting by 30–50%, reduce the number of sets and reps, or even swap out some of your heavier compound lifts for lighter, less taxing exercises. The goal is to give your body a chance to rest, recover, and rebuild those muscle fibers.
It's like hitting the reset button, allowing your body to catch up and come back even stronger. So, even in a program as structured and intense as Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, rest and recovery are paramount.
Absolutely. Matthews emphasizes that muscle growth doesn't happen while you're lifting weights. It happens during the recovery period. That's when your body repairs those micro tears in your muscles, building them back bigger and stronger. Adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and incorporating those deload weeks are crucial for maximizing your results.
We've covered the importance of progressive overload, tracking your progress, and prioritizing rest. What other insights does Matthews offer when it comes to optimizing your training?
One thing that stands out is his emphasis on proper form and technique. He's adamant that lifting with correct form not only maximizes muscle activation, but also minimizes the risk of injury.
That's such a crucial point. I think we often get caught up in the numbers, how much weight we're lifting, how many reps we can do,
Yes.
that we sometimes neglect the importance of proper form.
It's a common mistake, and it can lead to setbacks down the line. Matthews provides clear instructions and illustrations for each exercise, ensuring you're performing them correctly and safely. He also encourages seeking guidance from experienced trainers, especially if you're new to weightlifting or attempting a new exercise.
Always better to be safe than sorry,
Uh,
especially when it comes to lifting weights. Now, Matthews provides this incredibly detailed framework for training, but he also acknowledges that everyone is different. How does he address the need for individualization within his program?
well, he emphasizes that what works for one person may not work for another. We all have different body types, genetics, training experiences, and goals. He encourages readers to experiment, find what works best for their bodies, and adjust the program as needed.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between structure and flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
having a solid plan to follow,
Yeah.
but also being adaptable and listening to your body's feedback.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
We've delved pretty deep into the training aspect of Matthew's program, but let's circle back to nutrition. We talked about macros and calorie cycling, but does he offer any specific dietary recommendations?
He doesn't advocate for any specific diet. Instead, he emphasizes the importance of a balanced and sustainable approach.
So, no restrictive fads or extreme measures.
Nope. He promotes a flexible dieting approach. He's all about hitting your macro targets without being overly restrictive about food choices. He explains how to calculate your macro needs and provides tons of examples of foods that fit into each category, giving you the freedom to create a meal plan that aligns with your preferences.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way of eating that you can actually stick to long term, not just a temporary fix.
Exactly. And he stresses that consistency is far more important than perfection. It's okay to indulge occasionally, as long as you're generally making healthy choices most of the time.
That's reassuring to hear. It takes the pressure off and makes healthy eating feel much more attainable. So,
Yeah.
we've covered the fundamentals of Matthew's approach: strength training, nutrition, recovery. But what really sets Bigger, Leaner, Stronger apart is that it delves into the mental aspects of fitness as well. He dedicates a significant portion of the book to mindset, motivation, and goal setting. Why do you think he places such an emphasis on these mental factors?
Because he understands that building your best physique is about more than just physical effort. It's about mental fortitude, discipline, and self-belief.
It's about having that inner drive and mental resilience to stay committed to your goals, even when things get tough.
Absolutely. He argues that your mindset can either sabotage or support your progress. It's all about cultivating a positive and growth-oriented mindset, focusing on progress rather than perfection.
So it's about celebrating those small wins along the way,
Yeah?
rather than getting discouraged by setbacks.
Exactly. He reminds readers that everyone starts somewhere, and progress is not always linear. There will be ups and downs, plateaus, and challenges. But it's crucial to stay focused on your long-term goals and trust the process.
That's so important. It's easy to compare ourselves to others and get caught in that trap of feeling like we're not good enough, we're not progressing fast enough.
Yeah.
Matthews encourages readers to shift that focus inward and celebrate their own unique journey.
I love that he highlights this. He's all about having self-compassion and acknowledging how far you've come, rather than dwelling on where you should be. And another key point he makes is the importance of setting realistic and achievable goals. He suggests breaking down larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps, which can make the journey feel less overwhelming and more attainable.
It's that age-old wisdom of breaking down a big task into bite-sized pieces. It's much less daunting that way. Does he offer any practical tips for staying motivated and sticking to your fitness plan? We all know that motivation can fluctuate. So how does he address those inevitable dips in enthusiasm?
He does. He talks about finding a workout buddy or joining a supportive fitness community. Having that social support can make a huge difference in terms of accountability and motivation.
It's like having a built-in cheering squad. And he also talks about finding an activity you genuinely enjoy. It shouldn't feel like a chore or a punishment.
That's so important. If you hate running, don't force yourself to run just because you think you should. Explore different activities, experiment, and find something that you actually look forward to doing. That's what makes fitness sustainable in the long run.
It's about making it a part of your lifestyle, not just a temporary means to an end. Now, realistically, We all have days when motivation wanes. What advice does Matthews give for pushing through those inevitable slumps, those days when you just don't feel like hitting the gym?
He has a great suggestion for those days. Have a plan B. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. If you're not feeling up to a full workout, maybe just do a shorter, less intense version. Or swap out your planned workout for something completely different, like going for a walk, doing some yoga, or even just stretching.
So it's about finding ways to move your body and stay active.
Yeah.
Even on those days when you're not feeling 100%. It's about honoring that commitment to yourself, even in small ways.
Exactly. And he encourages readers to view those less than motivated days not as failures, but as opportunities to practice discipline and build resilience. It's about developing those mental muscles, which are just as important as the physical ones.
That's such a powerful reframing. It's not about being perfect. It's
Yeah.
about being persistent. And that really aligns with Matthew's overall philosophy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This idea of building a healthy, sustainable lifestyle that you can maintain for years to come.
Absolutely. He's not about quick fixes or extreme measures. It's about making gradual, sustainable changes that become ingrained in your habits and ultimately transform your life.
It's a journey of self-discovery as much as it is a physical transformation. And I think that's what resonates with so many people. This idea that fitness is not just about aesthetics. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, both physically and mentally.
I couldn't agree more. It's about unlocking your potential, pushing your boundaries, and realizing what your body is truly capable of.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into bigger, leaner, stronger. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of all the insights Matthews has to offer. It's such a comprehensive guide, covering everything from the science of muscle growth to the psychology of motivation.
It truly is. He's done an amazing job of making complex concepts accessible and actionable, empowering readers to take control of their health and fitness.
So for our listener, if you're ready to embark on your own fitness journey, I highly recommend checking out Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. It's packed with evidence-based strategies,
Yeah.
practical tools,
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of inspiration to fuel your transformation.
And remember, you have everything you need to achieve your goals. It's not about genetics or luck. It's about commitment, consistency, and a belief in yourself.
So go out there, crush those workouts,
Yeah.
fuel your body with nutritious foods, and never stop believing in your ability to become the strongest, healthiest version of yourself.
I can't wait to hear about your progress.
And that concludes our deep dive into Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. We hope you found it insightful, motivating, and empowering. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Thanks for tuning into Chapter 2, where we break down the best books to fuel your growth and learning. If this book caught your interest, check out the links in the description to get the audiobook at no cost. Don't miss out and support our channel while you dive deeper into these life-changing reads. See you in the next episode.